This is Terrence Andre Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions, coming to you talking about debt, and particularly global debt. We've come to look at debt as just a commonplace for our modern society. But the problem with debts is that sometimes they're searching for a bubble. Of course, I'm always going to put a link in the description. This article caught my attention. The dark cloud of global debt, the perfect storm looms. And I'm just going to dive right into the article and just explain to you, why we need to pay attention to debt, and debt has never throughout history ever been a good thing for extended periods of time, especially. While everyone is debating the effects of possible trade sanctions, especially since that's been on the global economy, few are paying attention to a far more serious issue. Enormous global debt combined with low interest rates has set the stage for a global recession that has potential for economic chaos. The combination of enormous debt and artificially low interest rates were at the center of the 2008 credit bubble. Repeat that again. The combination of enormous debt and artificially low interest rates were at the center of the 2008 credit bubble. One would expect central banks to be aware of this and show more concern. However, the overall silence has been astonishing. An exception to this is the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, which has been making loud noises about the toxic level of global debt and the anticipated bubble. It had recently reported the global debt of 2008 was $60 trillion small when compared to the current debt of $170 trillion. To make matters worse, today's global debt is 40% higher in relation to GDP than it was in 2008, just prior to Lehman Brothers' downfall. To add to the current headache, as the rising debt levels of emerging markets and corporate debts, according to McKinsey & Company, a global consulting firm, 2/3 of U.S. corporate debt are from corporations that pose a high default risk. Countries such as Brazil, India, and China have been issuing questionable credit. This dubious credit being issued in many emerging markets has come with extremely low interest rates. If the borrowers default, the lenders won't be looking at enough compensation to recoup their losses. Low interest rates have become an overall global problem, including the U.S. rates and high-yield bond market. Central banks around the world have been keeping interest rates artificially low while printing money with abandon. The current global debt is the direct result of this policy. $2 trillion in corporate debt will be maturing annually through 2022. A considerable amount of this debt may default and cause debt repricing. The damage caused by central bankers and their policy of easy credit has been down, and there is little that can be done at this point to stem the tide. It can only hope that they are more aware now than they were in 2008. But how can they be more aware if the numbers increase that dramatically? Just prior to 2008, during the halcyon days of easy mortgage, homeowners jumped into the debt bandwagon by refinancing their homes and incurred more than $300 billion in debt as the value of their properties increased. Many used their newfound wealth to purchase furnishings, automobiles, vacations, or reinvest in the stock market. By the time anyone realized that the homes and stocks were highly overvalued, the stock market took a tumble. Major lenders declared bankruptcy, and the world suffered through a massive recession. More than a decade later, as global economies are still climbing out of their mire, the story is repeating itself, this time with major corporations leading the way. These companies are using cheap credit to pay dividends to stockholders and buy back their own stock. This driven corporate debt to record highs with inflated assets. Sooner or later, the bubble will burst. Awash in cash, corporations have created a buyback economy. They purchase their own stock for a short-term profit. Companies are expected to pour $2.5 trillion in buybacks in MA this year. Corporations used to invest in equipment. Yeah, this is the research and development. They don't do that anymore. Corporations used to invest in equipment, products, and innovative services, generate growth in products. In the buyback economy, the cash goes to stockholders instead while the companies stagnate. Apple recently announced a $100 billion buyback of its stock. Since 2012, the company has paid $210 billion to its shareholders. In 2017, public companies used more than $800 billion of their equity to buy back stock and increase their debt. As a consequence of this corporate borrowing spree, more companies are binging on debt versus focusing on their bottom line. This is a bad position to be in during any economic turndown or when interest rates rise. When the time comes, a line of defaults is expected, causing renewed economic stress. It should serve as a warning to companies of problems that they may lie ahead. The world is drowning in debt. In addition to corporate debt, household and government debt are at a record high level. We read that again. The world is drowning in debt. In addition to corporate debt, household and government debt are at a record high level, while interest rates are historically low. With the recent tax cuts initiated by President Trump, the federal deficit is expected to exceed $1 trillion next year. This is in addition to the $20 trillion of already existing debt. Interest payments alone on this colossal federal debt will increase from $316 billion in 2018 to $915 billion in 2028. This is just in the interest payments. Consumers seem to have also forgotten the lessons from 2008. Households of debt in the form of mortgages, credit card, and student loans have returned to record high levels. 38% of individual credit card balances are over $10,000. As central banks contemplate rate increases, consumer interest payments reduce buying power and cause a slowdown in the economy, bankruptcies, and eventually perhaps a recession. At the moment, the global economy is filled with a number of sharp pins, and no one knows which pin will be the first to prick the debt bubble, but a burst is almost certain. Folks, we got to be really careful now. We're getting closer and closer to this bubble being popped. Debt has never been good at this extended rate, and articles like this just point this out. If this video has been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments. Until my next video, I'm out.